One of the things that surprised me about it actually was that the Chancellor had signed up to it. Having studied Rishi Sunak quite closely over a period of time, this is a guy that has really sharp political antennae. He is a smart operator and he is conscious as any politician of optics. He is an Instagram politician. And so it surprised me a lot that he thought that this was something that would possibly be that he could get away with. And I do wonder whether more will come out about whether he even knew that this was being proposed. I don't know. I don't have any inside information on that. But it seems to me vanishingly unlikely that someone as clever as Rishi Sunak, as conscious of his image and his reputation, would have signed up to the idea that he could have a special rule for him.
Health Secretary Sajid Javid tested, of course, positive for coronavirus yesterday. And then this morning, the Prime Minister and the Chancellor were contacted by Test and Trace as his contacts. Well, initially, first thing this morning, we were told that Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak were not going to self-isolate. Instead, they would be taking part in a pilot programme to replace self-isolation with daily testing. And it's fair to say, you only had to take a look at Twitter to see that this did not go down very well at all. About 2 hours later and 40 minutes, we had a government U-turn, Downing Street releasing the following statement. The Prime Minister has been contacted by NHS Test and Trace to say he's a contact of someone with COVID. We know that's someone to be the Health Secretary. He was at Chequers when contacted by Test and Trace and will remain there to isolate, and he will not be taking part in the testing pilot. He'll continue to conduct meetings with ministers remotely. The Chancellor has also been contacted and will also isolate as required and will not be taking part in the pilot. Well, let's bring in Isabel Oakshott, a political commentator who I know was one of those on Twitter this morning calling out the hypocrisy of it all. Good to have you on the programme, Isabel. Your thoughts at this U-turn?
Well, I mean, what was remarkable is how quickly it happened, but the strength of feeling was quite extraordinary this morning. I think those of us that have been in this business of political reporting for some time have got used to an element of hypocrisy and blundering by governments. And we have had multiple examples by this administration, key figures including, of course, Matt Hancock, Dominic Cummings and so on, showing that they think the rules somehow don't apply to them. But even by those standards, this was quite breathtaking in its brazenness and complete contempt for voters. And, I don't normally make Twitter videos. It's just not something I do. But I mean, I've spent much of the last 18 months feeling pretty angry about the way we've been casually stripped of our fundamental liberties. But today, I think, just pushed me over the edge. And I started a Twitter hashtag, send them a message, in which I urged people to just air their feelings about the way this government is approaching this issue. And 2 hours later, a screeching U-turn, and it turns out that Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak will, in fact, be self-isolating. What I think this shows is not that we need more enforcement of the rules, but that the Prime Minister and the Chancellor acknowledge the incredible disruption these rules are causing, and perhaps their reluctance to apply them to themselves might encourage them to review what is a system that is clearly crippling this country.
Mick, this morning, you looked absolutely furious on that video. First of all, have you calmed down? And secondly, do you think this is going to have lasting damage, or because it's a beautiful sunny day, they'll get away with it?
I'm not sure I've totally calmed down. I mean, look, I'm pleased that they U-turned on this, but I'm still angry that they thought that they could get away with it. And I think they showed their true colours. So whilst they've sought to limit the damage by U-turning very quickly, I don't think people will forget that they tried to get away with this.
And Isabel, you and I have both written about the issue of school pupils having to self-isolate recently. We're both parents. It's been so chaotic for children who've already had to have their lives impacted so much, even though they're barely affected by COVID. And then to see, as you say, those in authority trying to dodge isolation when it affects them, I'm sure that must be one of the reasons that there was so much outrage this morning, probably why you're still raging this afternoon a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't mention the anger of parents and the kind of, and I don't use this word lightly, the suffering of children through this long period. In my Twitter video, I didn't actually mention that, and I should have done, because it is deplorable, the constant disruption to children's education, and it has a profound psychological effects on many children, the stop-start and the culture of fear, and also on their parents, especially those who are self-employed, but also those in all walks of life, to have to keep stopping work to look after children who are perfectly healthy and are being kept at home for no sensible reason. I think the country is rapidly reaching bursting point with this, and I think the government is going to have to amend the system and bring in something much more sensible that actually recognises the fact that now so many people have had both their vaccines. We don't need to be doing all this self-isolating. It is a complete waste of time and resources.
Isabel, we've kind of got used to Boris Johnson making mistakes. Now Rishi's involved in this. Do you think this is going to have quite repercussions for him and his reputation, or do you think he had to go along with the Prime Minister on this?
Well, I'm glad that you brought up the Chancellor, because when I saw this morning, one of the things that surprised me about it actually was that the Chancellor had signed up to it. Having studied Rishi Sunak quite closely over a period of time, this is a guy that has really sharp political antennae. He is a smart operator, and he is conscious, as any politician, of optics. He is an Instagram politician. And so it surprised me a lot that he thought that this was something that would possibly be, that he could get away with. And I do wonder whether more will come out about whether he even knew that this was being proposed. I don't know, I don't have any inside information on that, but it seems to me vanishingly unlikely that someone as clever as Rishi Sunak, as conscious of his image and his reputation, would have signed up to the idea that he could have a special rule for him.
Yeah, he certainly owned it, didn't he? He tweeted this morning after the U-turn saying the impression that there was one rule for them and another rule for everybody else to him was wrong, something that Boris Johnson didn't acknowledge in his video statement that we got from Chequers. So, as you say, perhaps a slightly different approach there. Isabel Oakshott, fantastic to get your thoughts. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.